It's Fellonius the old yapper again. And we are going to do rerun of CPM's favorite topic. It's Swenglish. Yes, I'm comparing some things about Swedish and English. As you probably already know, but we take it from the beginning. We invented the English language. Yes, the Scandinavians and the Vikings went over and told you this is an arm, this is a hand, and that's what you're going to call it. And you're also going to call this an eye, and so on. And pretty much most of the English language came from that. That's where the words come from. So back in the British Isles and stuff, there was of course Celtic and other languages, which in their turn came from Southern Europe, of course. Except for one thing, they weren't delivering it from Latin. It was until later they mixed these ones up. And we have always, both the English and the Swedish, have always tried to borrow as much as we can from other ones in order to get a smoother language. But there are some stuff that doesn't work. One thing is also about you having not even the common words for something. Let's take Americans' sidewalk. As probably most of you already know, the fact that you are calling it sidewalk makes it much easier to understand what you're supposed to do on the sidewalk. In England, they call it the pavement. And I have no idea what they mean by the pavement, but they are thinking outside of their houses. It's a paved area with concrete or stuff that is soft, that is easy, and it's absolutely easy to, well, keep clean. As you probably remember, back in the old days, every dishwashing and stuff just went out the drain, and there wasn't even a drain. So to keep the area outside the house is clean, you have to have a smooth area, and that's why they call it the pavement. But that's their word. That's not even what we use. What do we use then in Sweden? We borrowed from the French. Trottoir. Yes, not exactly the same pronunciation as the French, but almost. And can you also guess why? Yes, we had just leased ourselves a French king. Back in the 1600s, we had a lot of German visitors and much trade with Germany and the northern part, Belgium and Netherlands and stuff. So the German language came in very quickly and sort of fixed the wrongs that Swedish language had. Among other things, the grammar, which made it impossible to understand later on. But by then we have already exported all the nice words that we thought we could have over to the English. The English, well, they thought, well, this is useful. We can just easily do a grammar around this. They didn't catch the grammar we had in Sweden. And then when we improved, I hope you heard the quotation marks there, when we heard and improved the German language it made it even worse. So since the 1600s, we are not able to teach any foreigners Swedish very well, or should I say easily. But then in the 1700s and around 1812, between the 1708, I think, and back to 1812, we were in contact with France. Yes. So suddenly it was all the French manners, and they did it in Italy and Spain, Portugal, wherever. They were all being French. Louis the 16th, he was so popular all over the Europe. So of course we take care of that as well. So that's where we got a lot of French words. But then in the late 1800s, people who are doing a lot of things with language, they suddenly start to interest themselves in Latin. The Latin had a lot of things that was pre or post. Useful things that you can always use. And now we are getting a bit of a problem, because we are not interpreting those Latin words the same way. And this is one of the things that I really think is funny. Let's use the word insulation. That means to isolate something from cold. Mostly. You can do other stuff with insulation as well, but let's just keep it to one thing, because in your country it doesn't really mean more than that. To isolate things, that's something else, but you don't call it isolation. What I'm after is insulation. In Sweden we don't use the T-I-O-N. We can actually use ing, so we call it isolering. Isolering, if you're trying to do some sort of English. And you can't use ing because you are using that post whatever it's called for your verbs, in order to make sure that everyone is understanding that that verb is continuing, it's still going on. We don't need that, we just say still going on. We don't need to have an ing form for it in Swedish. So that's one of the main things. That way we can use ing for nouns. So that's making it easier, and mainly because ing, every ing word we have in Sweden is to a certain class within the nouns, class 3. Making it easy to make it into plural, well, easy for me at least, who is a Swedish teacher, and easy for many others. Let's take detention. That's another one. Detention for you might be putting people in behind bars or something like that. We don't use that. You are actually using detens, which is a part of a Latin word. I don't know that much Latin, but I know that detent is a part of it. You can also use internment. Now, intern is also a bit of a Latin word. We are using that. Internering. If we are going to sit and discuss something about prisoners and stuff between Sweden and, let's say, Nebraska, we are going to have a lot of problems with some of the words. While you are detaining people, we are just interning them. What? And there are several. I can probably go through my dictionary and find like 10 per page that will do this. So on one level, on hand, arm, eye, nose, we have the same word. But on the next level, when we are starting to construct our language, we are going totally two different ways. And many of the Swedes doesn't know that. So they're using a Swenglish word, that is a Swedish word that they pronounce as if it was an English one. And that makes it rather funny to hear sometimes, I can tell you that. Now, reading English is totally okay. We are good at that in Sweden. But just speaking up on top of our head, that is something we need to train a lot more on. I will keep on digging on this Swenglish, so I'll probably get back to yet another rerun of Swenglish. Thanks for listening. Bye.